All right, trying to live feed again. Let's see, we had an issue with audio. Hopefully this audio is better. We'll wait for a couple people to jump in and let me know if the audio is better or not. Hopefully the audio is better. We'll see. Let's see. Thai food really quickly as people are jumping in. If you can, I guess thumbs up or comment or something on the audio. All right, much better. Good. I don't know what's going on. So as people are jumping in, so Chris and I were in town. We went to a Thai restaurant. It's north of Phoenix, about 10 or 15 minutes. It's called Reign of Thai. And I want to talk about it really quickly because my mouth is on fire from this place. So we went there 2 nights ago. It's not bad, just echoey. Huh. Okay. I'm not using it. Is it still bad? I don't know. Same setup as I always use. Except I do have my my case off my phone. Maybe that's why. Man, my mic. I never use a mic. I got nothing. If the audio is maybe, oh, you know what? It is. Hang on.
I bet if I talk into this microphone, it probably sounds a lot better, huh? Is that the problem? All right, so now we've identified the problem. Outstanding. So I just turned it off. Hopefully it's better. All right, so we'll try. This has already gone longer than I wanted to go. So really quickly, Thai restaurant, we go in. I've been to this place before, and when the first time I pulled up to it, I looked at the guy that I was with, and I said, "Are you serious? This Thai restaurant is a building that is physically attached to a part of a transmission shop." And I said, this place must be really good if it's attached to a transmission shop. So we go in, and the food is remarkable. I mean, phenomenal. If you like spicy food, this is a great place to go. They can obviously tone it down. Here's how this place goes. If you order on the scale of 0 to 5, if you order it on as a 3, they will tell you that a 3 is what most other restaurants consider to be a 10. Maximum heat is a 3. So I tried a 4, and it was spicy. You sort of get the sweat going here and up here and that whole thing. So we had some leftovers. There was I don't know, 5 or 6 of us. So we sort of did family style. There was some leftovers. I brought it over. I had the spicy noodles. 2 days later, I take it out of the fridge. I throw it in the microwave. And if it was a 4 2 days ago, I swear it's a 7 today, which is off the charts. My mouth is on fire, and the food is remarkable. So Reign of Thai is a really good place to go. I want to talk about blame really quickly. We see, I think with rates being really good over the past year, we see a lot less blame going around. And we see a lot less blame because it's really hard for individuals to fail when rates are so good, and that's a good thing. I was looking at the load boards today, and there's a lot of what I would consider very average rates on the load board. I was looking out of Denver, which is not uncommon to be a little sketchy. I was looking out of the Northeast. There were some that were a little softer than I thought. Out of Texas and Oklahoma, a little softer rates than I expected, especially considering fuel is north of $3 a gallon, at least here. I don't know where you guys are at, but it's around that $3 mark. So some softer rates, and then I was on Rate Per Mile Masters, and I saw this post, and maybe some of you guys did. I want to read this really quickly. It says this person said they've read a lot of financial reports from publicly traded companies discussing a lot of earnings, and they named a few companies here. 42% increase in profit, 55% year over year, so on and so forth. They then go on to say, did your respective business have an increase in profits by 42% in over 2017? They then culminate by saying brokers are taking the lion's share of the capacity and the profit. Who thinks this is fair? What is the solution to right this wrong? And so I thought about that for a few minutes, and I made a comment. And here's sort of what I think. I think ultimately, especially in transportation, if you're an owner operator or a lease operator or a carrier, that sort of thing, you are responsible for your profit, period. And in an industry like transportation that is commoditized, in an industry that has pretty high cost of a barrier to entry, one of the best ways to improve your profit is by cutting your costs, okay? That means like finding cheaper fuel. Don't run the truck 70 miles an hour, run it 62, 63 miles an hour. Route planning, time, all those sorts of things that you can control have a really significant contribution to your profit or not, right? If you do some of those things poorly. So my comment was, sorry, I got a bunch of text messages here. My comment sort of said something like this. If you think that the brokers are taking too much, then why don't you take control of that piece of the puzzle? Why don't you contact the customers directly? Why don't you create direct relationships with customers? Because right now, and I get this question a lot, can a guy with one truck really go and get a direct contract with a shipper? And the answer is absolutely, especially in today's market. That is absolutely very doable. They are looking for capacity. They are looking for individuals that do a lot of things really well. We have a driver. I had lunch with him 2 days ago. I think he was a driver that ran for us. He went out, bought his own truck, and he's doing the owner op thing. And we were talking about the fact that he's got brokers that have him on speed dial because he does a lot of things really, really well as far as managing the truck, the loads, communicating, all those things that brokers see value in. He does those things really, really well. It was an interesting conversation, and I didn't ask him if I could share this, but I will. He said his biggest challenge is trying to determine how hard to run, because this is an individual that stays out for long periods of time. So he's not like he's out for 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, he's out for a couple months at a time. And he said that was his biggest challenge. His biggest challenge wasn't profit. His biggest challenge wasn't, are things fair? His biggest challenge wasn't complaining about how much the brokers are making. He was ecstatic about the numbers that he was generating. And his numbers are good. It's not like he was being deceived. I made the comment to this person's post, and I said, I don't think that a lot of people understand the true cost of sales, right? Sales, meaning building that relationship, the airplane tickets, the hotel, the rental cars to go and meet with these individuals that a lot of these companies do, right? To try to, especially brokers, because just like being a carrier, being a broker is highly commoditized as well. So these guys spend a lot of time on planes, hotels, rental cars, dinners, meeting with these different companies to try to secure that business. And as a carrier, we typically don't have those expenses. It's typically a phone call, right? We reach out to those individuals. We find the transportation manager, the person responsible for those loads. We have some conversation. We sell our for them directly. And so our cost of sales is pretty low as a carrier. So if you are an owner operator, lease operator, your cost of sales can be really low, okay? The broker is not so much, right? Not so much. Now, I had a gentleman the other day that he was like, man, I don't like, he's like, I like your channel, love your channel. I just don't know that I really like how you defend the brokers all that often. And this video could sound like I'm defending brokers. I don't know that I'm really defending brokers as much as I am defending that you need to be responsible, just as I need to be responsible for profit to the business. That's our number one priority, is turning profit. If we're not turning profit, we're turning revenue, and you can go out of business really quickly turning revenue, and that's dangerous. Brokers, if you run the spot market, provide a service. As I've alluded to in the past, it's sort of like Match.com of the transportation world. They spend the time to go and build a relationship to secure the freight. A lot of these guys have brick and mortar type facilities. They have a lot of costs, so they should turn a profit because they're providing a service to us, to you, or whatever. If I want more of that profit, then I should expect to do more of the work. I don't think that blaming them is really the way to go. If you're gonna blame someone, I would blame myself, right? I can pick up the phone, I can do the research, I can contact the customers, I can do all that work if I want to, right? So if you're an owner operator, lease operator, I would encourage you to do that. Again, right now, especially right now, August is not far away. August is a time when a lot of these companies are looking to renegotiate contracts. We're going, and I don't know why this happens. It takes someone far smarter than I, but we typically see a dip in rates in August, kind of that middle of August. We always see a little dip, and there is a behind the scenes that you guys may not see. Brokers everywhere are responding to RFPs. It is, it's just a firestorm, right? And it's going to be really interesting this year because last year in August, rates had just spiked crazy, right, as we all saw. And so we had a lot of brokers that were in long-term contract deals, and they couldn't push those loads at those rates that they had previously, the year before, 2016, agreed to. And so shippers were some of those making those phone calls, start building those relationships now. Let these individuals know that you want to take some of their freight, and it might seem trivial to you. That shipper or that the broker ultimately. But if you can do things really well for a broker, you can do things exceptionally well for the shipper, and there's value. Again, communicating, showing up on time, have the right type of equipment, it's clean, it's odor-free, all those things that we know to do those things. Make sure you've got the right number of load bars or straps or whatever it requires, right? It all falls on you. That's the beauty and the ugliness of being a business owner. It all falls on you. I've seen a lot of conversation of late, and the conversation sort of goes like this. In fact, Bill and I were having this conversation at lunch 2 days ago. The conversation is it better to go directly owner-operator? Or should I sort of take maybe that interim step of becoming a lease operator? What's the right thing to do? And the answer is the only person that can answer that is you, right? That's it. I think a lot of it comes down to how much work do you want to do yourself? As Bill was saying, there is a tremendous amount of paperwork. For those of you that are true owner operators, you know that, right? There's a lot of work, not just work on the truck to keep the equipment up and operational. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a fair amount of work. If you're willing to pay somebody else to do that, you can do that. If you're willing to pay a company that maybe you just rather lease on and have them track all your all your data, help you with booking loads or finding loads, all those, sure, you can pay for that. I mean, in this industry, you can sort of outsource just about anything that you want, right? So it boils down to, what are you willing to pay for it? How much of the work are you willing to do yourself? Or is there value that you just pay somebody else to do it, right? And then that frees up more time. And that's ultimately what this game is about. So I don't think there was a wrong that needed to be righted in this situation. I think maybe it was a different perspective that this person felt like these brokers were taking too much of the money. Don't fail to realize that you can be aggressive and assertive and go out and find that own business and do it yourself. For those that are lease operators and owner operators, you took that risk to get into that lease or to buy that equipment to get your own authority. So the risk doesn't stop there, nor does the work stop there. You guys know that. For those that are contemplating making that jump, the work doesn't end there, right? There's a whole lot of things that goes on behind the scenes. So I don't really think there was a wrong that needed to be righted. I think it's that person's responsibility to understand if they don't like paying that, or if they want to cut out that middleman and they want to get more of that 42 or 55% profit, they need to do the work. They seem to imply that their profit was not nearly as representative of an increase as some of these other companies. Again, how are they running the truck? Where are they buying their fuel? What lanes are they in? Are they doing all that legwork, all the hard work to maximize their profit or not? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. We don't know. I doubt we'll never know. I just don't know. In this case, it's really the broker's fault. The broker's fault is to go and turn a profit, just like it's your responsibility and my responsibility to go turn profit. So how we do that, how efficient we are, how good we are, determines how successful we're going to be, right? So that's sort of that. I just didn't feel like really the blame lies on the brokers in that particular instance, right? Now, I'm not saying that some brokers. I'm not saying that some brokers don't, try to take way too much and that sort of thing. And we all know those brokers exist, and that sort of thing. But I don't know. Again, you're always going to be better off to cut the middleman out. In this case, the broker is a middleman, but they're also providing a service, right? And so if you can't provide yourself, your company, the same service that they provide, well, then you're going to be stuck with using brokers. So I'll jump up really quick and try to, yeah, I know we had the microphone issue. I think we're good now. That's good. Let's see. What would Snorlord do? That's a good question. No, so back to the who asked if I had the J Canal I Want to Die experience. I did not. I like spicy food. My friend's wife, I actually have some video that I'll never make. I won't make public. But she was crying. She took a bite of some dish that was a 3, and she was in tears. But she doesn't like spicy food. And then after seeing that, other people at the table that don't really like spicy food, after seeing her cry, they wanted no part of it. Dashcam Sand says he had Thai food. He doesn't order it hot. The first time that I was in this restaurant, the female waitress, we were contemplating ordering a 5, and we asked if we could get on the side, and you can't. It's Prego, like it's in there. And as she could see that we were sort of contemplating it, and the fact that we were contemplating it, she literally said, she said, you know Thai hot. You know Thai hot. So we took her word on that. And I could eat the 5, but I can tell you that I would not enjoy the 5. The 4 happened to be right for me. And yeah, you're right, Buck Wild. Leftovers are always hotter and spicier. I just didn't expect it to be that. Holy. Yeah, Jim, that's it. You got it. Cave Creek Road, that's it. That's exactly the one. Place is awesome. I mean, it really is. It is. Let's see, Ed McLean says, if a person really said the brokers are taking capacity, right there, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, kind of, Ed. I wasn't going to, again, it could be someone that's just maybe not experienced and that sort of thing. And that was a conversation Bill and I were having. I said, hey, because Bill had been a lease operator previously for JCT, and they cut his miles, and it ended really poorly for him, unfortunately. And that's one of the, again, for anyone that's followed the channel for a long period of time, I suggest if you're going to be a lease op, make sure that you have the control over freight that you can book yourselves. When you get into companies that you can only move their freight, I think that's a really dangerous thing to do, because you're now reliant upon them to be successful, right? Whereas I'll never understand. I've talked to plenty of dispatchers and other things for some of these larger companies. A couple of years back, they would have trucks that would sit for 4 and 5 days straight, and they were like, "Well, we just didn't have any freight." I'm like, "There's a million loads on the load boards, right? Why wouldn't you guys just jump on the load board and at least move your guys, right? As opposed to making them just sit." Today's a different time than even a year ago. So, but I asked Bill, I said, and he said, "Look, it does," and we agreed. It just depends on your mindset and where you are at for your level of success, whether or not you just jump directly into being an owner-operator, if you take maybe a stepping stone, or maybe it's just far more comfortable. I mean, I read a lot of comments where guys just say, "Look, I did the owner-op thing, and it just wasn't for me." They preferred leasing on with somebody else. And again, I think if you find that right somebody else, that right company, then it can probably be a good trade-off. Dan Murray says, "Got to go. Take care, man." I'll leave this one up for a while. Dashcam Santa says, "Let's outsource an army of overseas telemarketers to call brokers and simply turn down the loads." I don't know if anybody else has received these kind of calls. I got one the other day. In fact, I filmed it. It was Friday Eve. Was it Friday 2 weeks ago? Or whatever it was, doesn't matter. I got the phone call. It was in a strong foreign accent saying this is the IRS, and they are sending the sheriff to my door if I don't call them back immediately and pay the thousands of dollars that I owe in back taxes. And so I flipped the camera on and I called them, and of course it's a scam. So for those of you guys that don't know, the IRS is not going to call you. So it was a scam. It was. I will say this about that scam. They have it down really well. So for those that maybe aren't knowledgeable or aren't aware that scam exists, it's really good. When I sort of hung up the phone, they called back and threatened me because I hung up the phone on them, saying that I have to, I think they said I owed $8,400 or something like that, $4,800. That's what it was. And when I told them that I didn't owe them $4,800, and I hung up again, they then had another individual call saying that it was with the local police department, so on and so forth. So they're really aggressive. So pass that along to a lot of people that maybe might not know about that. But you get a lot of goofy stuff that goes on. The Hool says if things worked well, people are hesitant to change it up just to save a few cents. That's true. Change is always a scary thing for a lot of people. That's definitely for sure. Ed McLean says, until you do all you need to do as a one-person, one-truck carrier, it's hard to have time to market. Yeah, absolutely. I said that a lot. Having dispatched when we first started the transportation, I mean, I'm kidding you guys not. And part of it was a learning curve because I was new to the industry and that sort of thing. But I'll tell you, I mean, I literally was working 20 hours a day, and so that was rough. And I don't know why you wouldn't always, if you have the option, I don't know why you wouldn't have someone constantly looking at loads on the load board for you. I just think there's I just think for the cost that I see companies charging for that service, I just feel that you would easily be profitable in paying for that. Again, that's just my opinion. Man, I don't know what's going on. I got a ton of text messages and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. You're trying to market the capacity and service of only what one truck can do. And that's true, Ed. But again, I think one truck that does a really good job is really valuable, right? It just is. When a broker or a shipper knows that when they give that load to you and they don't have to worry, that's a big thing, because Bill and I talked about this as well. He said, man, I had no idea how many, he says, I have no idea until I've really been interacting a lot with drivers. He said, now that I'm an owner operator, I get out and I interact more with more individuals out in the truck stops and shippers and receivers to try to educate myself more. He says, as a company driver, I just stayed in the truck and I really didn't want to talk to any other human. And he said, man, I see how many individuals just don't understand the industry that well. And again, that was his opinion. So there's a lot to it. There are a lot of moving parts to it, for sure. Sugar Shine says, you know more about the money when you do it yourself. Absolutely, right? There's a lot of, absolutely, right? When you're the one writing the checks and handling the invoices and doing all those things, you should have a far better grasp on that than others. That's all right, I understand. Too many owner ops don't know the cost of running their truck. Poor business habits, absolutely, you bet. Let's see, Sugar Zigzag, in my opinion, how long should you be driving before you decide to become an owner op? Man, I think that's a really tough question to answer. I think, as I've said in a lot of other videos, Zigzag, I think the first thing you need to do is really be comfortable in operating that truck safely and really proficiently, right? Once you have that skill set down, I think that could take 2 years for some individuals. I think it could take, I don't know, many years for others. But once you have that piece of the puzzle down, then I think you really want to begin educating yourself on the business side of things. Once you're comfortable there, then I think make that transition, take a chance. And now's a really good time to take a chance because I think the rates are so strong that you can make mistakes and there is additional money, revenue, and profit to be made that you can overcome far quicker and far easier than you had in the past. Let's see. Hustle and Flow Trucking says this company has 65 trucks, 3 dispatchers. No one at this company sits ever. And I was talking to a driver. Actually, we were texting a little bit earlier, and they told me how many miles they ran last year. And obviously, they were running paper logs, right? Obviously, they were running. No, this was not one of our drivers. This was somebody I knew outside of our company. So there's a lot of guys that hustle really hard. I think the key thing in being an owner operator or lease operator is you really have to drive, right? I mean, I think I hear so often, I'm sure you guys do too, home time sucks in this industry. We all know that. At least for those that are OTR. And I think so many individuals want to spend more home time, understandably. And I think you can achieve that as a lease op and owner op. I just think that you have to be really cautious in making sure that you are doing the work, keeping the left door closed, making a lot more right decisions when you are out on the road. So, but hustling is a lot of it. Sugar Sign says she gets those calls all the time. It was kind of funny. It was funny because I was really scamming them kind of in return, and there was a video that would do really well. Unfortunately, my battery died on my camera kind of halfway through. But yeah, be cautious of the scammers. Let's see, Friendly Grumper says, I've gotten that scam call countless times. It's such a joke. You know what's funny is I've had it 2 or 3 times over the past couple of years. And word for word, I mean, they are reading a script. I mean, word for word, it is the exact same script. The Hool says, instead of watching TV, yeah, market yourself. Man, it's so true. I mean, instead of watching YouTube or instead of watching or playing video games or whatever, watching TV, spend some time on the internet researching, different shippers in the area close to home. There's a lot of things that you can be doing, making those phone calls. You can make phone calls and send emails, in the middle of the night, right? No big deal. It goes to voicemail, leave them a voicemail, send them an email. Logic Neon, man, you are neon. Got some crazy neon going on there. Sugar Sign says she doesn't trust the brokers. Well, I don't know how many brokers we deal with. Probably well north of 1,000 over since we started, and there's less than 5 that I would say that I trust. right, that I trust. And that's a shame. I mean, if you know your customer, I had a call to it a few days ago. Dave was, he was out of the office for a couple hours, and so I booked a load. It was a U.S. food load, and instantly red flag goes up. And so I said, well, hang on, I want to know about the detention rates with U.S. Foods. And here's another red flag for you. When a company says we don't have we don't pay detention, that tells you right there that the reason they don't pay detention is because they would probably be out of business if they had to pay detention because their load times are so long, right? That's a red flag. So you can still, I'm not saying not to take that load. I'm just saying make sure that you charge enough taking that load, knowing full well that whatever times they have in there for loading or unloading, you can probably roll it up and light it on fire because it's not going to be accurate. So just know, plan on spending an extra half a day or a day there and put it in your rate. That way, if you're sitting, guess what? Great. The best money you can make is when that truck is not moving. All right, if you're getting paid for a full day's worth of rate and you're not moving, great. No big deal. So be cautious of those brokers. Oh, good grief. Trucker Lucifer is well, he's not hitting on. He's giving a compliment to Sugar Sign, so that's inappropriate. That is appropriate. I'll give you that. Yeah. So we are. So quick update on that. I've got a contract finished up. It's in the hands of attorneys. We're kind of going back and forth, and we're kind of starting that process of identifying some trucks and getting finalized pricing on that. So we will. Sorry, more text messages. We'll be kind of announcing that formally here sooner rather than later. And we're going to, as I've mentioned before, we're going to start small for probably the first 4 to 6 months. And we're going to make our mistakes small. I know that there are things that we don't know, and we don't want to make mistakes on a big scale. And so we have the luxury of starting kind of small, and so that's what we're going to do. I hope towards 4 to 6 months from now that we can start growing. I'll just say more substantially. I agree, keep the door closed, makes you money. Wife and I run as a team last week, 7,800 miles, 8 days. Miles are out here. I told this to Bill as well when we were chatting. Again, he stays out, he runs hard, stays out for a long period of time. And so he was trying to manage, how to stay mentally and physically sharp, right, and well rested. And I just sort of said, look, it's July. I would try to run really hard for the next several months. And when February comes, park it. Take the month of February off. Go take a couple of vacations, right? Whatever. Get out of the country. Don't try to kill yourself in February when the best you're going to do is make a few bucks, right? More often than not, you'll break even. It's just not a good month. This year, I was really curious to see how January, February was going to turn out to be this year. February was as expected, in my opinion. So, I said, man, right now it's hay season. Go make hay, and keep the left door shut. Take your downtime when you need, and go hard. And I think that's a really good thing to do. I think, for those that are out there, know that late August, early part of September, we should see a dip. We saw a little bit of one last year, even when rates were crazy. So I would say, man, if you're that individual that runs hard for 4 to 8 weeks, run hard over the next 4 to 8 weeks, and expect rates to take a dip latter half of August, early September, right? What was our rate per mile on what, Tib? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Pick your own freight. Zach Robinson, you know that, you've been around long enough. Yeah, pick your own freight, man. Try not to get caught up with the companies. And I'm not saying that all the companies out there that are bad that have their own freight. I'm not suggesting that all are. I'm just saying that some of those companies, we all know the tricks that a lot of these companies pulled, and that trick looks like this. Hey, my name is Scott. I want to be a lease-op. I have a CDL and I have a Pulse. Cool. Sign here. Press hard. 3 copies on the contract. You get into that 3 years or 4 years. You're getting really close to paying your truck off. You've done all the right things. You've ran your brains out. You've not seen your family. You've missed the birthdays and the holidays and all that sort of stuff. and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train, right? It is the end of the tunnel, and you're ready to pay it off. In that last 12 to 18 months, all of a sudden, your freight and your miles, thus your revenue, starts to just to be strangled, and you end up walking away from the truck. That company just made a ton of money. They made a ton of money on you for 3.5, 4 years while you're moving their freight. Now you're turning the truck in that has a fair amount of money into that truck. They can either fix that truck up and then sell it, or they can put somebody else in it, right? So they have a lot of options, and unfortunately you don't. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of being forced to take a company's freight 365 days out of the year. That's funny, Lucifer. Yeah, there's a lot of places that would be good in February, besides being in a truck hauling freight for crappy rates. Couldn't agree with you more. Tinger, I don't know. I don't know. The answer is I don't know what's worse, Swift or Prime. I really don't. Oh, I'm sorry, Zach. Let's see. What was your question? But yeah. With us, so here's what we're gonna have for our lease guys. So we're gonna mandate that guys run flowers probably something like 4 weeks for a flower season. Ultimately, here's what I ultimately want. I want guys to have the option of running flowers if they want, and if they don't want, then they don't have to, right? This next year, spring of 2019, I know that we're not gonna be where I want to be. Had I rolled this out probably January, February, there's a really good chance that we would have been there. The fact that it won't be until the next couple of weeks, we won't be there. I know that, barring some miracle. So we are going to mandate that they run for about 4 weeks for a flower season. And then outside of that, you can pick your own freight. You can allow us to help find loads for you if you want. We're not going to charge for that. So you can pick your own freight. That's fine. Again, it's your business, right? We will have some quid pro quos because we need to protect, kind of our business initially. Year 2, I hope that's a little different. But what's going to allow for that to be different is the number of trucks that we have. Do we run loads ourselves from time to time, Exec? Do we run loads yourself? You mean like me personally as a driver? I'm not a driver, no. I don't. But we haul our flowers probably 6.5, 7.5 months out of the year. The other 4 to 4.5 months out of the year, we run OTR. Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying, Tib. You're asking hustle and flow. Yeah, and that's a good point, right? When you jump on these forums, be it YouTube or be it Facebook or wherever you're reading some of these things, and you hear people talk about, I made this comment a month or 2 ago. Some guy said, I got $9 a mile. Cool, I got $9 a mile on 40 miles. Well, that's probably not a good deal, right? Probably not worth your time. Some guys say I ran whatever, 3,800 miles this week. Were you profitable? Right? I mean, so, because that's all that matters. All that matters is, are you profitable? And so we all have to manage our respective businesses. There's a bazillion different ways to make money in transportation. There is no company that's the same. There's no lease-op. There's no owner-op that's the same. Different lanes, different rates, different times, different seasons. So ultimately, man, that's what it's about. Let's see. Flowers are our bread and butter, and they have to come first. They are, right? I mean, that's it, right? If we sort of look at, and I do, and it causes a whole lot of people a whole lot of problems. But I sort of look at our company as sort of 2 entities, right? The mothership of the greenhouses and then transportation. And we are there to provide a service to kind of the mothership, if you will. And so we have to take care of the mothership. We've got to get the product out. can guys bring their truck under your authority, or do you have to lease? So Zach, I actually do want to provide an owner-op solution as well. Greg Inman is in-house. Welcome. No, Greg, I mean, we'll look, we're going to be running flowers for a while. It's just, and for those that want to come in and run flowers, I mean, we're going to have, look, I've even had some drivers say, look, I want to come in, I want to run flowers as long as I possibly can. Great, right? That's awesome. And I know that there's going to be guys that are out there that I don't ever want to see a flower, right? And so we want to try to get to where we can provide both options for both drivers. In the meantime, there's going to be a bridge that we've got to cover that gap. Friendly, grumpy trucker. That's like an oxymoron, just so you know. Came in late. We're going to have trucks to lease, or can we bring our own truck? Both. You can do both. Jim says, my big decision now. Do I take a per diem pay package when I go to my first company, who also trains? Since there's no longer an allowable tax deduction for the first year, I earn 3 weeks vacation. I guess you'll have to be the one that ultimately makes that decision, but that doesn't sound horrible. Hustle and Flow says they average $250 per mile after expenses. That sounds really strong. First time catching live, always good info. Thanks, Johnny Mill, appreciate it. Food Mooch, don't blame you, man. How are you, man? I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, we were just talking earlier. I'm not going to rehash it because this one's getting long. But yeah, you know, the moral of this video is sort of we all have to just take responsibility and accountability for our own actions. Charlie's in the house. Charlie says, am I going to outsource my job to lease ops? Charlie, we are not going to be outsourcing company drivers' jobs to lease operators except for you. You're out of here. I'm kidding. Charlie was our first guy in, and so no, we probably won't give Charlie the boot. Charlie, if we gave you the boot, what are your kids going to do in the summer? Charlie takes his kids out in the truck, and he makes them break down carts and that kind of stuff. So if I got rid of you, you know, like I don't know what your kids would do. What percentage will the driver get? That was pointing my name. So I'm going to announce this here in a couple weeks once we kind of get everything tidied up. You know, I'll sort of do a video or live feed and put out the trucking exec email or Bellfloor email, whatever, and we'll start kind of sorting through it. I've already been having some conversations with some drivers that have reached out to me that I know, they know us, and that kind of stuff. Again, we're going to start small, but here in probably 4 to 6 months, we're going to, you know, try to really grow some. So all that to come. Small fry and Janice. I forgot about Janice. That's funny. All right, let's see. Food Mooch, cheesecake. Driver 001, welcome back. Retire now, Charlie. Greg Inman's coming after your job, Charlie. Cool. Hey, let's wrap it up. This is getting long. I saw that. I haven't done a video in a while. I thought it would be kind of a good topic of conversation. You know, rates are good. Run hard for the next 6 or 8 weeks if you guys are out there and you have the option. You know, think long term. Don't just think. You know, I see a lot of drivers that can't think past one move, right? You know, that's a bad habit, and that's dangerous for your business. Start looking several moves ahead. Start thinking about how you're going to be most successful, not just in the runs that you take, the prices that you negotiate, the brokers or shippers, receivers that you deal with. Think about the total picture for that entire week or 2 weeks at a time. This is like a game, and there's strategy involved, and so make sure that you are implementing the best strategy for you and your respective business. Little Viking Coach shows up right as we are wrapping up. Sergeant Ringo, yeah, we're going to start small. We're probably just going to start with about 5 trucks. Yep, so we're going to start small in that regard. So that's it. Look, that's it. That's all. You guys stay safe if you're making miles. If you're ever in Phoenix and you like spicy food, go check out Reign of Thai. Can't go wrong. You guys take care.